Yo, yo.
What's happening?
Ah, the
Yeah,
stash, the
yeah.
stash.
I had well, this isn't why I did it, but so really, in reality, I did it because I had a work video conference today. But yesterday, right when I got off with you, my mom was walking in and she just looks at me and she just shakes her head. And she basically just made a comment about it the rest of the night. So that wasn't why, all right,
Your mom shamed you?
she did. She did.
Damn.
But it was really just work. So.
Well, for the people who don't know, you had, I guess that's like a Fu Manchu, I think it's called.
It was just 2 weeks of a dirty mustache that wasn't shaved, basically. So.
It lived in its glory while it lived. So
Yeah.
You are Chris Cugliari.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nice job.
So what is your title with the Alumni Association?
Sure. So I'm the director of the USA Boxing Alumni Association, and I guess you could say I'm a co-founder of it, only really because this idea's been around for a while, but I would say there was a group of us back in 2016 through 2017 that got together and really launched this. So really,
actually, before you even get into what it is,
yeah, sure.
Who are you? Give me your background, and actually refresh me on your background in boxing and life.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long path, but so I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, which is actually back where I live now. But my boxing days started when I went to University of Notre Dame. So I grew up in a football family, was always like an undersized guy playing against bigger guys. And so I got to college, and Notre Dame has this tournament that's been around for about 90 years now called the Bengal Bouts. And it was nice because it was the first time I ever got to play a sport where there were weight classes. And so I liked having that advantage, or having the scales tipped in my favor a little bit. But ended up starting boxing there and fell in love with it right away. I think for the same reasons that a lot of other people do. I think self-discovery, you push yourself, you realize that those limits you thought you had really didn't exist. You could push past them. Ended up being captain of the team my junior and senior year. Actually, I don't know if you remember Mike Lee.
Yeah. The Subway dude.
So Mike, yeah. So Mike and I were co-captains of the team together. I actually lived with Mike one summer in Chicago. So, he's a good friend of mine. And it was nice because he and I think a lot of people that go through the program, they do it to stay in shape as a college guy. But he and I love the sport. And so we took that love outside of the Bengal Bouts. So after college, I lived in Chicago. I fought amateur for a little while. There's a gym. David Diaz was out of the same gym that I was at. So it was a jab boxing gym out on the west side of Chicago. Ended up getting involved with the Chicago Youth Boxing Club there, which was a great program. Like all those programs you see around the country are doing great things for the young kids, particularly those that are in at-risk neighborhoods. So really fell in love with boxing as a way for me to boxing is one of the only areas in life I feel like where somebody with my background can have a real dialogue with somebody from a completely different world. And I've always appreciated that. So, moved from Chicago to New York in 2013. And I should say that back when I was in college, I met Teddy Atlas, and he came out to Notre Dame, and, we had dinner, and I was always appreciative of what he's given to the sport and, what he says on behalf of fighters. So when I moved to New York, he brought me to the Atlas Cops and Kids Gym in Brooklyn. So I was helping out there for a few years. And
so just to kind of bring it together.
Yeah.
So boxing in Notre Dame, now you've graduated at this point?
Yes.
And you're
competing in Chicago, was helping out and doing some coaching work with the Chicago Youth Boxing Club, and then moved to New York about 3 years later.
Okay. How old are you at this point?
So at this point, man, this would have been like 2013, probably about 25, 26 years old.
Okay. All right. And at this point, did you decide you were going to be a professional fighter when you grow up?
We may be two of the very few that have gone through some amateur competition and I never had that dream. It never hit me. I mean, I love the sport for what it could do for me. I just never saw that as something that I was going to be in my future. So
that's okay. I won't judge you. So how did USA Boxing's Alumni Association come about?
So my college coach and John Brown, as you know, they got pretty close. And
John Brown's my coach.
You know, that's right. Yeah, sorry for not making that clear. But John was the president of USA Boxing, now serves as the vice president. My college coach introduced me to John about at the time when I was moving to New York. So back in like 2013. And John and I stayed in touch, and John always had this idea about a real alumni association. You know, universities have them, other organizations have them, and boxing is it forms this unique bond that I think a lot of your listeners and you are very well aware of. So how do we tap into that for USA Boxing? And so we discussed this alumni association.
Actually, before we even go any further than that, for those who aren't familiar with what an alumni association is, what is that?
Well, I guess it depends on the organization. I would say, you know, if you take a look at a university alumni, it's a way to fundraise. It's a way to get people together and kind of in an environment of camaraderie to, you know, discuss the good times. And I think with boxing, there's a lot of similarities there, and that boxing people love to get around other boxing people and talk boxing. So, and I think what I would also say is that, you know, an organization like USA Boxing, this is really an olive branch. This is an opportunity for the organization to reach out to those who have gone on to do great things in life and bring them back towards the program. I think the program's always better when those who have left come back and help out the current generation. So, you know, that's for this alumni association. It's really about camaraderie. It is a little bit about fundraising. I'll be very transparent about that, but it's about allowing boxing people to have a great time by connecting with other boxing people.
I like it. And when was it officially formed, and how do you form something like that, especially in a sport with so many different organizations, especially separated the amateurs from the pros and the different governing bodies? Where do you start for an alumni association for boxing?
Yeah, I mean, we started at the national level, working with the USA Boxing National Office to, and really, I guess, piggybacking off of the national events that USA Boxing has. I think the first idea that we really had was we need a Hall of Fame. I mean, USA Boxing had a Hall of Fame, but it was hands off for a while. And, you know, I think the Hall of Fame and a USA Boxing Alumni Association is really the perfect venue. It's the perfect, I guess, vehicle to drive the Hall of Fame forward. So, you know, when we launched, literally the first thing we did was we have to have an event that we're going to promote. And that was the very first Hall of Fame reception, which was in 2017. So all that time from when we launched in the fall of 2017 up until December, where the national championships were, it was about promoting a Hall of Fame. And so that was the first flagship event. Throughout the year, again, we try to have other events, bring people together. We start at national events. Now, I think moving forward, we're trying to buy in with more local support, working with the LBCs around local amateur events, finding those people that deserve to be recognized, and finding those people that really want to help out with this. So that's where we're at right now.
Finding people who deserve to be recognized. Being around enough boxing people, I feel like everyone feels like they should be recognized, because as soon as you mentioned the Hall of Fame, I was like, I wonder when I'm going to be inducted. Yeah, not sure. If, just when. But
that's right. No, when is it going to be named after you? That's the better question.
Yes, yes, exactly. Right. When are they going to build that statue in Colorado Springs? But right. How do you go about saying who deserves it or not? Because boxing being such a subjective sport, and of course, you know, everyone's like, well, Ali's was in the best heavyweight ever, and then today you're like, Wilder's in the best heavyweight ever. So yep. How do you put together a Hall of Fame, and how do you tell people no?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess, first of all, which is a rule of thumb in just about anything, is that you're never going to please everyone. And I guess I've learned a long time ago that it's just not going to happen. So I'm not even going to really pay that much attention. That being said, when this alumni association was formed, there was a board of advisors that was picked. So we reached out to a few people, John Scully, Mickey Ward, BJ Flores, Kathy Duva, Steve Smoger, people that have been in different parts of boxing, journalists, referees, officials, fighters, coaches, all of that, right? So the board of advisors determines the nominees. And then once the nominees have been selected, that ballot goes out to all registered members of the Alumni Association. So for those of you who don't know, the Alumni Association is a 12-month subscription, $40. You get a t-shirt, a keychain, you get access to any of the events that we have throughout the year, and you get to vote on the Hall of Fame. So typically the way that we do it is the top vote getter, that's a former fighter, a coach, and we call it an at-large, meaning somebody who was like an official journalist, someone like that.
Yeah.
And then typically we will pick the next 2 highest getting votes. So we usually try to go with 4 to 5 per year, and it's determined by the votes from the Alumni Association members, which I think we're at about 1,000 right now.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. So who would you like to get involved in it? And who would you like these members to be? Now, do you have to be accomplished to be a member?
So no, first of all, John Brown, this is a quote from John again. He said, if you're breathing air, you're eligible to be a USA Boxing Alumni Association members. So it's open to fans. Anyone who has a passion for USA Boxing, for Olympic style amateur boxing, is welcome to join. I think we actually have some people that are members that don't live in America, not from America, which is sweet. I will say that we've seen some great support from a lot of our esteemed alumni that have, Olympians or who have gone on to the professional ranks. I think you've interacted with a lot of them, and you were probably teammates with a lot of them. Jamel, Herring, Michaela, Clarissa, Shakur. I will say that I think what's nice about this Alumni Association is that our recent Olympians that have moved on, because this is so new and because they're just recently removed from the program, there's still that really tight connection. But I also think we're working as Alumni Association to reach out to those who were from decades prior, trying to bring them back in. But our Olympians are big champions that we love to have the support from. So, again, thanks to all of you who have been helping us out, and hope to hear more from you.
Yeah. Dope. And how much is it again?
$40.
So what benefits do fans get to be a part of the Alumni Association?
So you get a pretty sweet t-shirt, first of all. You get a keychain with a boxing alumni glove on it. You get a, I guess they call it the e-wallet sticker. So you get a sticker that goes in the back of your phone where you can put your credit cards. So those are like the trinkets you get. But I think the real big
swag bag.
Swag bag, yeah, to start. You get access, so you're on our email list. So all news for, we'll send out notifications each week for alumni that are fighting pro events coming up during the week. And again, I think the biggest benefit is you get free access to our alumni events throughout the year. So when we have a Hall of Fame, when we have tournaments when we have events, like gatherings with like a cash bar and some appetizers at tournaments, you get access to all of that. So, I think you show up to one event and you're probably paying for itself between the t-shirt, the keychain, the food you get, the drinks, all of that. So we've also worked with some LBCs to get discounted tickets to some shows. So that's dependent on the LBC and how we can work with them, but that's another benefit.
Dope. That's weird because last time we spoke, you mentioned that I'm an alumni, and I didn't even realize that. I always thought the Alumni Association was weirdly more of like a retirement helping, like a program more to help retired boxers. So I'm glad I got this clarity.
Well, it is. Well, no, it's okay. It's, what I would say is a big part of what we do is also on the social media and the email and connectivity side of things as well. So in the same sense where I say that a big part of our mission is around fostering an environment of camaraderie and getting boxing people to talk boxing with other boxing people, it's also about boxers helping other boxers, or retired boxers helping retired boxers, coaches, all that. So, again, I think if in the professional world, if our alumni have any needs that, we can tap into our Alumni Association membership for, that's another value add that we'll provide. So, we can include all that information in emails. If you need to get put in touch with somebody and you don't have their contact information, reach out to us. We can try to make that happen as well. So yeah, to your point, it's definitely about boxers trying to help other boxers throughout their lives, even when their career is over.
Okay, and I'll get all of your information and leave it in the description if anybody wants to reach out to you or the Alumni Association for any of that connections. Chris, thank you for your time. Thanks for being on, and try to grow back the mustache.
Yeah, thanks, Cam. No, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, you too.
Peace.